Hello, hi, welcome once again to M5's English language learning program, Let's Speak English. I'm Gav Duncan and I'm here on your TV to help you learn English. Now, are you sitting comfortably? Yes? Good. And are you ready for today's lesson? Yes? Good. Okay, well, let's learn English together. And welcome to the studio once again. Yes, we're here again, people. We're here and we're ready, waiting to welcome you to the studio. And there you are. Good. Now, are you all ready? Are you sitting down with a cup of something hot or cold? It doesn't matter. Something refreshing by your side. Yes? Good. Okay. Well, what are we waiting for? Nothing. We're not waiting for anything. We're already at this end. So, if you're already at that end, then we can get started. We can get stuck in to today's revision lesson. Here we go! Hello, people! How are you all today? Is everyone feeling fine? Did you all get a good night's sleep? And are you all refreshed and awake, ready to begin another 15-minute session of English? Yes? Wait a minute. Who said that? I think I heard someone say no. Did anyone else hear it? No? Oh well, perhaps it was my imagination. Okay, well, hopefully everyone is refreshed and ready for now. It's time. Yes, it's that time again. The time for us to start today's lesson. Now, as I'm sure you all remember, in yesterday's lesson, we were looking at tenses, weren't we? Yes. We looked at the past simple, we looked at areas where we have to be careful with spelling, we looked at the changes we have to make to the third person singular when we're using the present simple with regular verbs, and all the spelling changes that are connected to the third person singular. We also looked at how to make the negative form of verbs in the present simple using an auxiliary verb, the verb to do. After that, we had another look at how to make the negative form of the verb to be in the present simple, didn't we? We saw that we used the word not to make the negative form of the verb to be. And we touched on the fact that apart from the first person singular, there are two ways of saying the negative for all of the subjects when we use the short form. We can say you're not or you aren't. He's not or he isn't. She's not or she isn't. It's not or it isn't. We can say we're not or we aren't. You're not or you aren't. Or they're not or they aren't. The only place where there is only one form for the negative form of the verb to be is with the first person singular. There, with the first person singular, we can only say I'm not. We can't say I amn't. It sounds terrible. Okay, so that's what we looked at yesterday. So, let's get started on today. Let's have a look at the negative and question forms of the past continuous tense in English. Now, first things first, how do we form, how do we construct the past continuous tense? Well, we need two things, don't we? Yes, that's right. We need the verb to be and the ing form of a verb. Okay, but which form of the verb to be do we need? Is it the present simple form? No, that's right. It's not the present simple form of the verb to be that we need here. Here, to make the past continuous tense, we need was and were. And which form of the verb to be are they? Yes, that's right. Was and were are the past simple forms of the verb to be. I was, you were. He was, she was, it was. We were, you were, they were. Okay, so we need the past simple form of the verb to be, depending on which subject we're talking about, either was or were. And then, well, what else do we need? Correct, a cock-a-doodle-doo, hit a squirrel and put it on the barbecue, squire. We need a verb, don't we? Yes, we need a verb in the ing form, a verb where we've added ing to the infinitive. Now, what do we have to be careful with here? Where do we have to watch our step? Yes, that's right. We have to be a little bit careful with spelling, don't we? Yes, we have to make sure that when we add ing to the end of the infinitive, we make sure that the spelling is correct. And do you all remember the rules about what happens? Yes, I'm sure you do, but just to make sure, let's run through them again, shall we? Okay. The first thing to remember is that if the verb ends in the letter E, then we remove the E before we add ing. So, I like to bake, and yesterday afternoon, when you phoned, I was baking a rhubarb crumble. Do you all know what a crumble is? A crumble is a sort of dessert or pudding. You put fruit into an oven-proof dish, and then you mix some flour and sugar together with some butter. You rub the three ingredients with your hands and fingers, and this is the crumble topping. You put this on top of the fruit and bake it in the oven. Then, when it's baked, the top of the dessert is hard and the fruit inside is soft. In the UK, when I was a kid, everyone made crumbles. My grandmothers made rhubarb crumbles, my mum made apple crumble, and when we had school dinners, there was always crumble. Okay, so that's apple crumble. But we're talking about spelling, not dessert. So back to the spelling. The verb is to bake, but when we add the ing ending, we remove the E from the end of the verb first. Bake, baking, write, writing, come, coming. Okay, what about another area of spelling? Well, if the verb ends in vowel plus consonant, then we have to double the last letter before we add the ing ending. I like to run. Yesterday at 7:30 a.m. I was running. Alrighty, but we also have to remember that if a verb ends in two consonants, then we don't double the last letter before we add the ing ending. So, helping has only got one P and working has only got one K. If the verb ends in two vowels plus a consonant, like the verb to dream or the verb to wait, we also don't double the last letter before we add ing. When the alarm clock woke me, I was dreaming about rhubarb crumble. When the boss phoned me, I was waiting for your email to download. Great! Now, who remembers what happens if the last letter of the verb is a Y or a W? Yes, that's right. If the verb ends in Y or W, we don't double the last letter before we add ing either. So, the verb to enjoy, when we add the ing ending, has still got only one Y. And the verb to snow, when we add the ing ending, has only got one W. Now, one thing we saw a couple of lessons ago was the fact that there's another group for spelling too, isn't there? Yes, and it's a bit of a strange group. This is the group where we have to pay attention to the stress in the word, where we put the stress when we pronounce the word. If the verb has got more than two syllables and the last part of the word is stressed, then we double the last letter before we add the ing ending. Begin, begin, beginning. After a few drinks, Alfredo was beginning to enjoy himself. But if the verb has got more than two syllables and the last part of the word isn't stressed, then we don't double the last letter before we add the ing ending. Visit, visit, visiting. I was visiting my aunt and uncle when their TV exploded. Okay, so we know the spelling and we know when we use the past continuous. We use the past continuous tense to talk about things that were happening at a certain time in the past. We know that the action we're talking about started before a certain time in the past, and it continued until after that time in the past. I started playing football at 4:32 p.m. I stopped playing football at 6:12 p.m. At 5 o'clock, I was playing football. Okay, good. Now, back to today. Back to the negative form of the past continuous. Are you ready? Yes? Clocks, are you ready? Are we ready, clocks?
Are we ready, clocks?
All right, we're all ready. So, what word are we going to use to make the negative form of the past continuous? Let me hear you say it. Yes, that's right. It's not, isn't it? Yes. When we'd like to make the negative version of the past continuous, we need to add the word not. Okay, so where do we put it? Well, where do you think would be the best place? That's right. We add not to the verb to be. I was becomes I was not. And then all we have to do is add the verb with the same ing ending. And that's it. Simple, isn't it? So we know that when we're using the past continuous, we use one of the past simple forms of the verb to be, either was or were. We use was for the first and third person singular. I was, he was, she was, and it was. And we use were for the second person singular and all the plural forms. You were, we were, you were, and they were. Simple. Now, all we have to do to make the negative is add not to the form of the verb to be. Was not or wasn't, because we all prefer the short abbreviated version, or were not or weren't. Again, we all prefer the short abbreviated version. I wonder if we could get Mabel to put that into a table for us. Mabel, Mabel, are you there? Mabel, Mabel, do you care? Mabel, Mabel, do you like my hair? Mabel, Mabel, can we see all of that in a table, please? Great! So that's simple enough, isn't it? Yes. All we have to do is to add not to the verb to be in the past simple, creating either wasn't or weren't. And then? Well, then it's super simple. Then all we have to do is add the verb with ing at the end. The positive past continuous sentence, I was playing table tennis, changes to I wasn't playing table tennis. Simple. The positive sentence, they were eating fried rhinoceros steaks with tomato sauce, becomes they weren't eating fried rhinoceros steaks with tomato sauce. Simple. Great. And as we can see, to make sentences using the past continuous tense in the negative is easy for all the subjects. All we have to do is add not to the past simple form of the verb to be, which gives us wasn't and weren't. And then we just have to add the ing form of the verb. Easy as pie. Easier than apple crumble. And we're done. Yes, that's right. Our 15 minutes has come to an end and we've got to go home. So, what does this mean? Well, it means for one thing that if you want to study some more English, you're going to have to scurry along to, what's the address? www.m5tv.hu. Correct. Yes, that's the place where we keep the old lessons and the vocabulary lists too. So, if you feel the need, that's where you should go to. Okay, if you do check out the website, or if you don't, remember that you should have fun. That's the most important thing. Enjoy life. That's why we're all here. Okay, people, have fun. Have another coffee a little bit later, say this afternoon. Have a cocktail perhaps. But remember, whatever you do, have fun. I'll see you all tomorrow. See you later. Bye.